Hello and welcome to the Rams Talk Podcast preview show. I'm joined here now with Mark, Port Vale fan, ahead of Derby County versus Port Vale on Saturday. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I am good. Obviously, last night's result against Fleetwood wasn't the best, but no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, the 2-2 draw with Fleetwood obviously last night. I guess you see it as another point on the board. Derby, unfortunately, we didn't get any points on the board last night. 2-1 loss to Charlton, who are struggling. Not a great result from our point of view. We're still second in the league, however, probably a little bit fortunate for that, maybe a lot fortunate for that. Obviously, Port Vale currently 22nd in the league. Obviously, Darren Moore's come in as manager on this long contract. What's been the season been like so far for Port Vale so far, and then obviously Darren Moore coming in?
Started off terrible, 7-0 defeat at Barnsley away. We kind of got into gear, started to push things on a little bit. Got some good players in on loan. Lad from Josh Thomas from Swansea. We brought in Ollie Arblaster from Sheffield United, who's absolutely a phenomenal player. He's going to go big places. The top teams are looking at him already. Alfie Devine, he came in from Tottenham. He did really well. They were training with the England first team, and we were having games called off because we had international players, etc., etc. At one point at the start of the season, we were in the game. We look at the table and we were top, but then we got to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, and we've kind of Ollie and all the loan lads have gone back in January. We've kind of petered away, and I don't think we've won since the 29th of December now. So we're really on a bad run of results, and obviously the manager had a poor transfer window, didn't bring a striker in, and yeah, no, we parted company with our manager, and we've obviously brought Darren Moore in, but he can only work with what's there. So yeah, I would say if you were to ask me how to sum it up so far, I would say very disappointed, and we must do a lot better.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of players going back in January. I think at the start of the season, Port Vale's team was looking, I would say, improved from last season with the players that had come in, and obviously, like you say, Ollie Arblaster and Alfie Devine are top players, and they've done really well this season with Port Vale. But then obviously going back in January and not re-strengthening the squad is always a problem. And I'll ask you next, do you think it will improve Port Vale this season? Do you expect to get out of that relegation zone and look further up the table, or how do you see it going? That was going to be one of my ending questions, but I thought it'd be a good point to ask it there.
I think it's going to be a really tough. He's got a very tough job, Darren Moore has now. I don't know where the next win's coming from. The team look lacking confidence. And look, we all want us to stay up, especially that it looks like Stoke could be on the brink of going down. We're not saying they're going down, but they're struggling. Crew are on the way up. The League One next season is going to be a great league. So it'd be disappointing to go down. It's going to be really, really hard now to stay up. We've got a couple of games in hand. I think they need to have any chance of staying up. We've got to go out now and bring 2 or 3 players in who are out of contract with experience, a proven goal scorer, a defender, and a real strong midfielder. I think we're going to struggle to stay up, but going Port Vale as long as I have, we're liable to go and beat the top 3 teams 3 or 4-0, and then save ourselves and then lose to the bottom teams 3 or 4-0 the other way. So, no, I have to say I've got to keep the faith, but I think it's very doubtful now we'll get enough wins between now and the end of the season to stay in the league. Although I'd love us to.
Yeah, well, I suppose anything's possible, especially in League One this year with how even I would say a lot of it is on paper. I think Derby, our league position lies a little bit in terms of performances, and I think last night is an example of that, where Charlton, they do have a good team on paper. They're not in they weren't in the best form before Nathan Jones come in, but they beat us last night and deservedly so. And you've got to keep that optimism. And it's very possible to bring in those out of contract players. Derby, we've brought in Dwight Gale after a lot of fans weren't happy we didn't bring in a striker. James Collins got injured and it left us with 0 fit strikers. And thankfully, we managed to make the sign of Dwight Gale to come in and hopefully he can score a couple of goals for us. But that appointment of Darren Moore, obviously it's a long-term appointment that Port Vale have made. What's your thoughts on that one? Do you think he's going to be able to? Do you think he's going to be able to do the business this season and keep Vale up, or is it more of look to next season?
He's got a big job, hasn't he? Because they're none of his players. That this is the thing, that they're not his players. He didn't bring any of them in. It's a good appointment. He's a good manager. He's done well where he's been. I know he didn't have a great time at Huddersfield, but they've gone through quite a few managers over the last couple of years.
Yeah, difficult place to go.
Yeah, it's difficult. You could put Derby in that in there as well. They've gone through managers, and you seem to get a great manager, then all of a sudden they go off somewhere else, try and replace him with somebody else. I think you had Lampard, didn't you? Then he went off, and then somebody else. Then Rooney comes in, did okay, he goes, and I think it's like anything. Yes, in hindsight, I think the change should have been made earlier, if that was the way they wanted to go. But Darren Moore wouldn't have been available then. But no, I think it's a good appointment. He talks well. They're not his players. The position we're in, none of the supporters blame him. He's going to probably give us the best option we've got. Yeah, I wouldn't want to put. Look, if we go down, he's the ideal man to bring us back up, because he'll be able to attract good players. But I think he's got a big job, and let's give the guy a chance, and let's see if we can, if the players can rally round, and who knows, he might have a few contacts of out of contract players that may come in, and we can push on. We don't have the budget, a playing budget like Derby do, so that's it's tough, but yeah, great. I think it was the appointment everybody was pleased with. But I don't think the supporters have been pleased with the business that was done in January with bringing and strengthening the squad.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of Darren Moore, obviously player for us during the Premiership years. I thought he looked really impressive when he was at West Brom there for the short spell he was there, and I think they might have already been relegated or he was close to keeping them up. And obviously he got Sheffield Wednesday promoted, but then obviously didn't stay there. And Huddersfield's a tough job, like you say. I think at the moment they're going through a transitional period as a club, I would say, from the outside looking in. But we'll move on now and talk about some of the standout performers for Port Vale. Who should Derby County fans be looking out for on Saturday? Obviously, I've got a couple of names written down. Obviously, you mentioned Ollie Arblaster, Alfie Devine, who left, but I've got written down here Ben Garrity. I know, was it Chislett who scored last night as well?
Yeah, so we got Ben Garrity. He's I think he's a great attacking midfielder. Ethan Chislett. We've got Lapata at the back, who's come in on loan from Barnsley. He did really well. I think Funso Ojo, who plays for us in midfield, he's played in the Champions League, so he's quality on his day. We've got some young lads who are coming through, but I think the danger men for the goals are your Ben Garrity's and your Ethan Chislett's, and yeah, so they're the ones I would watch with Funjo. That I suppose those are the ones that really will try and push us on, and then collectively as a team we've got to see where we go. I mean, with that low on numbers, we've been playing a teenager up front, so we need a striker, to be fair. So James Wilson, who was at Man United, who played, he's not had a brilliant season with injury, but on his day he's as good as anybody It's just if he's fit and if he's on form. Great player though. But I think I would say those three: Ojo, Garrity, and Chislett.
Yeah, I think you mentioned James Wilson there, and I got a blast from the past there. He was on loan with us for a period of time in the Championship as well, but like you say, injuries. I think he played 2 matches off the bench, got injured still in August or September, and he went back to Manchester United. But yeah,
I think that's been the
he's
story
definitely
of his career. I think that's the
yeah.
story of his
Unfortunately,
career.
so I think yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be said though. I think that I don't blame players for their injuries. I do think now we are playing players and young players, and like from 7, 8, 9 years of age, they're playing 4 times a week, then matches, and putting tremendous strength on the body as they grow and they develop into men. I think that can have an impact on a player, as they get older, causing to have injuries. I think one day there'll be some research that does on that to say that maybe limit the amount of time that children play. I know they've got to get that practice in, but um, when they're in academies, they're at like 9 years old, they're training 4 nights a week. They're playing, they're training 3, 4 nights a week. They're playing a game on a Saturday morning or a Sunday, and I think that all mounts up, and I think it does take its toll.
Yeah, it's such a high level of pressure, I think, especially in the and like you say, the toll it takes, and then when they finally do get to the upper echelons of men's first team football, the intensity of games increases, and especially at professional level, um, such as Derby versus Port Vale. You're very right. I mean, over the years, Derby, we've had a number of players who I think could have gone on to do great things in terms of their careers, but injuries wise, I mean, the one that stands out to me is George Thorne, who was training with. I think we all said he should have gone on to play for England because the age he was when he came on loan to us and how good he was in the Championship was unbelievable. But unfortunately, injuries halted his career, and it was if buts and maybes about what he could have gone on to achieve. But looking now, obviously, Darren Moore's, he's only been in Port Vale for a short amount of time so far, but tactically, how are Vale going to line up against Derby? Is it going to be attacking, pressing football? Is it going to be sitting back? How's it going to shape up?
Um, I think we'll have a go. We'll have a go at you. I think we'll probably go with 3 centre backs, 2 wing backs, pack the midfield, and play 1 up front. Probably go that way with one of the midfielders coming on to the striker. That's the way we could go. And I think we could. For me, we should go a bit more direct and get the ball forward. I don't know if Derby do this because it really annoys me. They start playing like Man City out the back, across the back, and all this, that, and the other. Now, there's about 4 teams in the country that can play that, but suddenly every club in the Football League is playing the Man City way and these short goal kicks and back to the keeper, back out, round, across. And of course, you're inviting pressure on yourself. The best form of defence for me is attack. And I know you're smiling there because I do Derby do that as well.
No, we did it last season under Rossini when we first came into League One, and we didn't score or get a win away before he left the club. So
Well,
I
that's the way
think
we've
that's
been going, so it must say something about that. Listen, Man City, you watch them, they're absolutely unbelievable. They've got some of the best players in the world, collectively with probably the best manager in the world. And I was reading the other day that, what could Pep Guardiola come in and change Port Vale to play the way Man City? No, there's no chance. We haven't got the players can play that way, and that's no disrespect to the players that play for Port Vale. They're in League One. They're not going to play the way that Manchester City do. They won the treble last year. They won the World Club Football Cup, and they play that way. And we're all playing this way now of out the back, across the back, and whilst it's very entertaining to be playing this tippy-tappy football, we need wins and we need to get the ball forward and get into danger areas and create mistakes, get penalties, get a goal. I'm not bothered if it goes in off somebody's backside and we get a goal that way. That's, for me, that's the way it is. But you said it didn't work for you, and it didn't work for. I don't think it's worked for us because look where we are.
yeah. I think last season Derby we had obviously Liam Rossini, who's now doing wonders at Hull. pushing them up into the playoffs in the Championship, but are playing out the back football. It worked at home, I think, but maybe the home advantage had an effect in that, because away from home, some of the worst away performances I've seen in the last 10 years following Derby County home and away was with that style of football where we just couldn't seem to get out of our own half, let alone create anything that was going to put the ball in the back of the net. But now Derby, we're definitely more direct. I think I wasn't able to go to the Charlton game last night, but from what it sounded like, we were very direct, and that was almost our own downfall. I think in that second half, when Dwight Gale, he's not a 6'4" striker. I don't think he reaches 6 foot in height. So putting long balls into the box against Charlton, who have very tall centre backs, didn't work. And yes, probably the reason why we ended up losing 2-1 there, amongst other mistakes. But coming up against Derby County now, obviously earlier on this season, Derby, we came out 1-0 winners. I remember watching that game, and it was quite a tight game, I thought, that one. I didn't think there was too many clear-cut opportunities in it until the end. And then Tyrese John Jules scored, who's unfortunately injured probably for the majority of this season, so I don't think we're going to see him again. Obviously, last time you visited Pride Park, you were winners in that. I remember that game. Unfortunately, I remember that game. But what's your thoughts ahead of this one now, coming up against Derby? How do you think it's going to play out?
Well, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough atmosphere to go into. I think we've obviously got a couple of things that might benefit us, that might come back, and sometimes these things happen. Darren Moore's coming back to his old club, and I know the fans like him there, so they're going to give him a good reception. So that's one thing I favour. We've got a young lad, a winger on loan from Forest, so there's another thing that could happen. Is he going to score his first goal for the club? Who knows? Listen, I'm not bothered if we lose 3-0, and as long as our team give 100%, get stuck in and really give it a go, and come off that pitch. And could they do no more? No, they couldn't do no more. Then fine. I'd like to think we could go there and compete. I'd like to think we could go there and get a result. It'd be nice. It's going to be very difficult. You've got a good atmosphere there, big ground, but we've done it before. We knocked you out the cup in the FA Cup in 1990, 3-2 on a replay. We won there last year, and I think Derby are very much a bit like Port Vale, and I think that is, you can go away and be absolutely phenomenal sometimes, and then at home you can be really poor. So you want to get back to winning ways after the Charlton results. We want to try and get a result because we haven't won for nearly 2 months. Yes, I don't know. I think I'd love to say we're going to get a result, but it's going to be a big job to do that, and we'll just have to see. It'll be one of those days, won't it? And I don't know. Are you in the top 6 at the moment?
Yeah, we're second at the moment, but I think the table lies a little with performances, I would say. I think maybe we're playing more like we're sixth, trying to hold on to that playoff spot. I think is maybe the way the performances are playing.
Yeah, but Luke, at this moment in time, you're second. You deserve to be second. If they stop the league tomorrow, you'll be going up. We'd be going down. It's up to your players and our players to put what it right on the pitch, and I think that's all we can hope for. We're very, very. We're both playing good colours, black and white, so which is a good colour. I don't know if that's unlucky sometimes at home, but it's good. We've got quite a lot of similarities, Derby and Port Vale. Obviously, your local rivals playing red, our local rival in white. Our local rivals playing red and white, and I think it's going to be a tough game for both teams. There's going to be pressure on you because we're near the bottom to win, the crowd, if they don't, if we can keep that crowd quiet for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, then we can push on. And let's hope we get a referee who gives us a penalty again, like we did last time.
Yeah, the game's coming back to me now. I remember all of it now, and then Collins, and yeah, I can remember all of it now. I think, like you say, there's a lot of pressure on both sides. Obviously, Vale want that win in Derby. We're desperate for points. Obviously, back-to-back losses, and Barnsley are winning. Bolton seem to be trying to throw it away as much as we are trying at the moment, but it's going to be interesting. We're closing in on that final 10 games of the season, which so much will chop and change come the end of the season. And it could be completely different to what we're looking at now in terms of the league table. And it's probably, yeah.
I mean, if you look at the fixtures on Saturday, they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Cambridge are down there, you know. Carlisle have got Reading, both down there. Cheltenham are playing Burton. And that's the other thing as well. Cheltenham's manager, he hadn't scored a goal when he went there. Darryl Clark, our former manager, that we sacked last year, which a lot of people couldn't understand at the time. But
they scored their first goal against Derby.
Yeah, they scored the first goal against Derby, and now they've gone on a run that's just unbelievable. They beat us last week 3-2. They've got us against you. Fleetwood are playing Wigan, both again at the bottom. Orient have got Bristol Rovers. Lincoln have got Stevenage. Charlton away at Northampton. I'm praying that Northampton beat Charlton. Blackpool are at Shrewsbury, so that they're in it as well. And Wycombe have got Barnsley. So it's all to play for. There's a lot of teams there that are really there or thereabouts. And it's going to affect, the day's going to be affecting a lot of things, bottom and the top.
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of the teams at the top still have to play each other. We've still got Bolton to play at home coming up in a few weeks, which what a huge game that is, in my opinion. I think I've been describing it as who will get second place, but obviously Barnsley have now come up into it. They beat us a weekend ago. So it's going to be an interesting one come the end of the season. It's probably a nice place to leave this episode now with people on that note. Thank you for listening to the Rams Talk podcast. If you have enjoyed it, please give us a rating of 5 stars on whatever you're listening. If you didn't enjoy it, please don't leave a rating. You don't have to do that at all. You can listen to this podcast or watch us on YouTube as well, on all your podcast platforms. We're also on many social medias. That will be in the description. Thank you for listening. Thanks for coming on, Mark. You've been a real help talking about Port Vale.
Let's just hope that we can win on Saturday. If we don't, our director of football will be getting, the crowd are really starting to turn against the director of football, and they're not happy, the fans. But let's hope that we can get a result, which is going to be very difficult.
I won't wish you good luck, because if I do, then you'll probably get the win. But no, thank you everyone for listening. And this has been the Rams Talk podcast preview show ahead of Port Vale.